Welcome back to Gossip Queens and Fantasy Things.
The podcast where we hold space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity.
So stupid.
Welcome back, guys.
I'm Addie.
I'm Taven.
We are so excited to be here and be talking about Wicked.
If you hadn't guessed.
What an amazing film. It has had me in a chokehold for the last 3 weeks. It's literally all I think about all day, and it's all on my Instagram feed. I can't escape from it.
I didn't even see the movie until this last Tuesday, so kind of like a week ago, and it's been, my whole life this past month. And I've never seen the musical.
Yeah, I have seen the musical. I saw it when I was a kid, and we listened to the music when I was a kid, so I've been a long-time Wicked fan.
I remember. I was just telling my mom after we saw the movie, I was like, I already know all the lyrics to all these songs just because I remember being at your mom's house when we were little and just being like, yeah, I know you had like the album or something, maybe like the CD.
Yeah, we had the CD.
And I was like, oh, Defying Gravity is such a cool song, but I never knew where it was from until I got older. I was like, oh, okay.
I actually still have the CD, and it's in my car right now.
That's so
I've been listening to it. The other night, Cody and I went downtown to Salt Lake, and we were listening. Oh, no, I actually put on the movie soundtrack for that. But before the movie came out, I was playing Cody like song by song from the Broadway soundtrack, and I'd like pause. I'm like explaining the storyline.
So this is what happens when you're singing this.
Yeah, well, this is what's going on at this point.
I told my mom how you like before I saw the movie, how you were like, okay, do you want me to explain the entire plot of Wicked to you? No regard for spoilers. And my mom's like, did you? I was like, yeah. She's like, Taven. I was like, the musical's been out for a long time.
Yes,
Mom.
Okay, I'm sorry if you're worried about spoilers. The musical came out in 2004.
Yeah.
So
literally 20 years ago.
I think that we are okay.
I think we're past that point.
I think it's gonna be fine. But if you haven't seen Wicked yet, definitely go see it. If you don't care about Wicked, I don't care. Listen to this episode anyways. Because still go see it, listen to our review, go see it again. It's amazing.
Yeah, I want to go see it again. I think I needed a little bit, because it was a long movie. It was like 3 hours long. Yeah. But I was like, I'm ready now. I'm ready to go see it again.
As soon as I left it both times, I've seen it twice, and both times I was like, I could go right back in and watch it again. It was so good.
That's crazy.
And anytime I do play the CD in the car now, I just like pretty much immediately start crying. I'm like, ah!
Okay, so I know everyone on like TikTok and stuff, and like you said, like Cody like shed a tear 3 times. Everyone's saying like, yeah, there's 3 big moments where people cry, but I feel like I only had 2, so I don't know what the third moment is.
Well, here's we'll walk through. Yeah, I'll do the cry moments, but then I think we should just go through the whole musical and talk about our thoughts. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm getting tons of pop-ups. Of course, classic.
As always.
I have a really old computer. I get like so many pop-ups and all this stuff. I think it's because I don't have virus protection.
Yeah, that might help.
Anyways, that's a little tangent. So no, people cry a lot. There's this big dance scene in the middle. We'll talk about that more. Very emotional.
That was my first cry.
The end is very emotional when she's singing Defying Gravity. That's very emotional. But I think if you have seen the show before, or like if you know the music and you know what happens, for me it was in No One Mourns the Wicked, the first song. And I know a lot of people got really emotional during that because you know, you kind of know what happens. And so I thought Ariana Grande just destroyed that scene. Give her Oscar now. Because it's like she's, you know, having these moments, everyone's celebrating the death of someone that was like her best friend, but she's also having to like celebrate it. I honestly might cry today. I don't know.
Well, I saw a video on TikTok of like someone like dissecting that song, and like her little facial expressions that she has and stuff, and then they're like, and then they make her throw the goddamn torch at the big witch statue or whatever.
Yeah, it's very emotional.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I think we should start from the top. For those, if you don't know what Wicked is, I cannot imagine anyone doesn't know, but Wicked is a book. The musical is based off a book written in the 90s.
I didn't even know there was a book, honestly.
Yes, I want to read the book.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that for book club.
Okay.
But anyways, so it's based off a book, and it's a prequel kind of to The Wizard of Oz, but also kind of in tandem with The Wizard of Oz. But it's like the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, and also Glinda the Good, like their origin story, if you will, and like the wizard's background, things like that. So yeah, I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz since I was like,
God, same.
10 maybe.
Same.
I want to watch it though now, and especially since Wicked's come out, that people are reposting all these videos of The Wizard of Oz, and I'm like, I'm sorry, was that a musical? Because I do not remember that, but it's a musical.
I don't remember either. Yeah. I remember like one specific scene where they're like all like linked arms walking down the yellow brick road and singing.
Yeah,
but that's it.
We're off to see the Wizard.
Yeah,
the Wizard of Oz, but that feels like just them, just like a little snippet, but I guess there's music to the whole thing. Maybe we'll have to watch The Wizard of Oz and give that a little repeat.
Honestly, you know, might have to.
A movie I really like is The Great and Powerful Oz with James Franco. Did you ever see that?
No, but I've seen a lot of snippets of it this week.
It's really good. I really like it. I have it on DVD. Maybe we should watch it. But that's also kind of like origin story, but it didn't get as much traction as Wicked.
Speaking of The Wizard of Oz, just real quick, now that I've seen Wicked, obviously they weren't made together, so it's not meant to be like this, but I'm like, God, Glinda really just did not like Dorothy, because like,
no,
when she like sends Dorothy to the wizard, she's like, oh yeah, go see the wizard and he'll fulfill any wish and send you home. And this whole time, now that I've seen Wicked, I'm like, she knows that the wizard has no freaking powers. She was there.
She was probably trying to expose the wizard.
Oh.
So crazy.
True.
But anyways, so yeah, Elphaba, Wicked Witch of the West, Glinda the Good, and that's what the story's about. Yeah. So the movie opens. It's really good actually how the movie opens. That's what made me cry in the beginning, because it kind of opens with Glinda's voice over like an intercom system, like the Wicked Witch of the West is dead, and then flying monkeys all go out, and the music's starting, and then
you don't have to watch the movie. We're just gonna
and then they're in Munchkin Land, and all the Munchkins are like, good news, she's dead. They're hype as hell. And they're all singing and dancing that the Witch of the West is dead. Then Glinda comes to chat with them. And
in her little bubble.
In her little bubble. And that is so sad. What a sad moment. Because as you find later in the story, they were best friends. And then...
I like that moment when one of the Munchkins comes up and is like, is it true that you guys were friends? And then she like...
Oh, I hated that Munchkin.
Oh, yeah, same.
You know that she was trying to entrap Glinda there.
Oh, for
she
sure.
Was like, was it true that you were her friend? Friends. She knew they were friends.
Yeah. But I like how she reacted. She like kind of like looks off. She's like, yes.
Yeah.
But then she like defends herself, which I didn't love, because I'm like, oh, defend your friend. But even though she's dead.
She didn't defend her friend the whole movie though.
Yeah, but she was like, but you have to understand that was a really long time ago. I'm like, okay.
And then that's where the movie really starts, because it kind of goes back to their story. They went to college together
at Shiz. Which is a crazy name for a school.
Yes, they hated each other because Elphaba's green, and in Oz, animals talk and shit, but you can't be green. Okay.
No.
Can't do it.
A lot of crazy shit goes down.
I mean, the original book, it was like a lot of messages on like racism, xenophobia, things like that. It's very political. Which, you know, it's good. But you can't be green. And that's the crazy part, where animals are talking, but you can't be green.
Well, that's kind of part of the plot too, is they don't want animals to talk anymore.
That's true. They're trying to like trap the animals in cages and make it so they can't talk and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, Elphaba and Glinda, they become friends, and Glinda, she's like the really popular girl. Everyone loves her. Everyone loves Galinda. That's her name actually. Galinda. For half the movie, Galinda. And she's very well loved, but her and Elphaba, they end up becoming roommates, and they just hate each other. Loathing.
I was gonna say, that's where this song comes in.
And it's a classic enemies to lovers arc.
Well, honestly, they kind of are.
Well, I haven't read the book, but I have heard in the book that, like, that is part of it. Like, that they love each other. Or Glinda loves Elphaba.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true. I haven't read the book, but I kind of need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so they...
freaking dancing. That's when they, like, became friends.
Yes, the dancing, it's so good. That scene let's get into that, because so yeah, they hate each other, and at one point, we'll back up a little, because then Fiyero comes in.
What he was treat. Handsome as hell. I was like, Addie was right.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Fiyero is like the main love interest, and he's played by Jonathan Bailey, who is in Bridgerton. He's like Anthony in Bridgerton, if you watch Bridgerton. What a treat. What a treat. What a handsome guy. And his outfits were so good. I told Cody. Cody just gave me side eye. He's so mad. But I'm making Cody one of those outfits too. So, because I'm like, Cody, you're going to learn this dance. I'm like, you kind of look like him. Cody and Jonathan Bailey have the same face shape. So, yeah. That's really it. That's
got some brown and unruly hair.
Do you hear that, Cody? Steven said your hair is unruly.
He's not listening. Thank God. He listens to the episode later. He's like, what the fuck, David? I didn't mean it in a bad way. I like the unruly kind of wild.
No, it's nice. It's
fun
nice
style.
But so he comes. Yeah, Fiyero comes on the scene. He and Glinda instantly connect because they're like, "You're perfect. You're perfect."
And let's be perfect together.
His dance scene. Did that knock your socks off? Knocked my socks off.
It did, except for one part that me and Cody were just talking about. Cody and I.
Yeah.
Where he steps on the freaking book. It drives me crazy. I literally saw it and I was like I literally cringed inside. I was like, you don't gotta step on it, my guy.
Here's the thing. You can still read a book if it's been stepped on.
It's
ain't
so
that crazy.
Disrespectful.
Well, whatever. I think it's just a book.
Well,
it's not that big of a deal.
Okay. We have different opinions there, though.
We do.
But yeah, literally, the rest of, the throwing the books, everything, I was like, okay, I get it, because he's kind of the rebellious, kind of.
So you're fine with him throwing the books?
I'm not fine with it, but I kind of was like, okay, I get it. But then when he stepped on it and started dancing on it, I was like, no, that's the line.
I loved it. I thought it was so good.
It was a good scene. The dance was so fun. I liked the spinning little.
The library. Yeah, the spinning library. It was so fun. I just feel like that song is so good, and.
Dancing through life.
Yes, but I'm maybe gonna fast forward. I'm gonna probably jump around. I was gonna try and go chronological, but it's hard because everything connects. It all connects. The whole song of Dancing Through Life, there's a lot of points where it's mindless and careless, it's better to be brainless, whatever. There's a lot of things
dust is what we turn to.
Dust is what we turn to, eat, drink, and be merry, pretty much, for tomorrow we die. Let's not worry about it. And also, it's okay to be shallow and not worry about things. That's what makes you cool, and that's what
makes you cool.
But yeah, pretty much, and you're gonna have a good time if you feel that way. Anyways, but later in the movie, Elphaba's talking to Fiyero, and she's like, "I know you want everyone to think that you're shallow and selfish," and he's like, "I am shallow and selfish," and she's like, "No, you aren't, because if you truly were, you wouldn't be so sad."
Yeah. But and he helps her get the animal out and helps them escape.
But I feel like he just, pretends to, not care. And that's the whole, all of these people, I think that's a big message in the movie, is, people pretend to not care to, fit in or to be part of whatever group or world, but it's not ultimately for the good of anything to do that.
I mean, that's school, though. Yeah. Everyone went through that in school, just wanting to be popular.
Yeah. But I think, too, I feel especially with social media and stuff, I feel it's just, I don't know, even more common. I feel just bandwagoning or jumping on things, I feel people don't use any critical thinking skills for a lot of things. Cody and I were talking about this morning with something, I can't even remember what it was.
I just feel every time I hop on TikTok now, there's been a few videos here and there that I love that I'm okay. But so many people just get on there and are chasing the clout or whatever. Yeah. It's so annoying to me. I saw this one last night that this girl just got on and was so my boyfriend broke. I'm like, dude, no one really cares. It may get a lot of likes because it's shocking, but I'm for a lot of them I feel they're lying. I feel they're just making shit up. And B, I'm no one cares. Keep it to yourself. I don't know.
No, I feel I've been getting got in lying videos on Instagram, because I believe anything really in a video format.
Lying. I thought you said line.
Oh, lying. No, lying videos. But here's the thing. Okay, this is also a tangent. This is really not relevant at all to Dancing Through Life anymore. But they've been animal videos where it's oh, this little kitten was saved by the fox and now they're best friends, you know, and then it'll kind of go through this story where it's like the little kitten, it's like an AI reader, the little kitten abandoned in the forest was all alone when once upon him came the fox helped him into his mother's hovel. Have you not seen these?
No.
Oh my gosh, okay.
That's crazy. I've never seen anything like that.
I see them all the time, but then, and I'm always like, oh my god, that's so cute. And I send him to Cody. I'm like, look at this cute.
Like, that's not true.
Look at this cute animal story. But lately, well, no, Cody watches them too, and he's like, that's so cute.
Oh.
But now I've seen so many that I'm like, every video clip is a different animal. If it's talking about a cat, I'm like, the cat's orange in this video, and it's not orange in the next one. But I'm just watching it. I'm like, yeah,
that happened. That makes sense.
But now, no more. They can't get me with these animal videos.
That's so funny. I've never seen anything like that.
That's crazy. Well, maybe now that I've spoken about it, it'll be like on your algorithm. Yeah.
Pick it up. I literally was like, I haven't played Baldur's Gate in like months. Months and months. But I played it just a little bit just the other night just to see where I was, just kind of refresh myself. And literally hadn't seen a Baldur's Gate meme for months, nothing. And then I pick up my phone after I'm done playing and it's like, would you like to join this Baldur's Gate group on Facebook? I'm like, no. Maybe, but not because you were listening to me.
Maybe, but not now.
Anyway.
So anyways, the dancing books, it's so fun. And then we have such an iconic moment with Nessa Rose.
Iconic is a word for
Nessa
it.
Stinks. She's the worst. She's the worst. I saw this little meme and it's like, no wonder Nessa was in a wheelchair because she didn't stand up for her sister once.
That's what I was gonna just say. She's so mean to Elphaba.
Yes, and then, so, in this Dancing Through Life scene, Bach, he, like, loves Glinda. You know what? I'm honestly just gonna assume you've seen the movie. I can't even describe all of it. There's too much happening. Bach, okay, I don't like Bach either.
I don't either.
He really could have resolved a lot of problems if he just would have, like, told Nessa, even after that first date at the ballroom, just said, hey, I had a fun time.
I don't really like you, though.
He didn't even need to say that. Like, I'm just, that was fun. And never ask her out again. That was it. That was all that needed to happen. I don't know, he's, like, pretending to be her boyfriend now. I'm like,
that's what, and, like, after, like, he asks her to the ball or whatever, he's like, oh, want to dance with me? And she's like, we're destined to be together. Like, me and Bach, can't you see? I'm like...
Me and Bach.
Like, first of all, girl, chill. Like, you guys barely know each other. Yeah. He asked you on one date. You're not soulmates. You're not fated to be together.
But she liked him from the beginning, you know, because she, like, was giving him eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's obsessed with Glinda, and Glinda's like, well, ask this wheelchair girl out on a date. She
would really like it if you asked her out.
And he's like, okay, well, I'll do it for you. Then Nessa's talking to Elphaba, and Elphaba's she and Glinda have beef at this point.
Yeah.
So
she's like, I don't trust that girl.
When she's like, Glinda did this, and Nessa's like, don't you dare say another word against Glinda.
She's the one that made this dream come true for me.
I'm like, dude, your sister has looked after you your whole life,
literally
taken care of you, been the most supportive of you. You don't freaking know Glinda, and you're like telling your sister, shut the fuck up.
And then, when they first get to Shiz and she, like, brings her up and whatever, she's like, it's finally time to start my new life and stuff. And I'm like your life was so bad before.
Yes.
Like, literally spoiled little daddy's girl.
Yes, daughter of the governor of Munchkinland, and, like, the beloved daughter.
Yeah.
That little baby Nessa Rose.
Ugh.
Do you want to read a story, Nessa Rose? Yeah. She just stinks. She's a really bad sister, and I think a bad person, honestly.
And even when she becomes, like, the Wicked Witch and, like, flies off, Nessa's just like, too bad.
She's probably mad. She's like, Elphaba, you're making
stealing the spotlight.
People don't like me now because of you. Yeah, she wasn't even. Oh, she was there to see her sister off, but she didn't go to the front of the crowd or anything when Elphaba got to go to the Emerald City. She was just like, bye, bitch.
Speaking of that scene, not that, like, I do like Glinda.
Yeah, at that point she becomes Glinda. So.
Yeah, I do like her a lot, and obviously I get why people are, like, kind of like, oh, she's, like, you know, just, like, the vain, like, popular, selfish person, but she really liked Fiyero, and Fiyero did her so fucking dirty in that scene. When he comes up with the poppy in his vest and, like, comes to say goodbye to Elphaba. I was like, that's dirty, bro. I was like, just say that you don't want to be with her anymore. Just be like, hey, Glinda, we need to break up. Like,
yeah. Also, here's my thing about Glinda. I think she's such a complex character, and I don't think that I was talking to Jaren about this yesterday. One of our friends, I was chatting about it. But I think of her a lot in comparison to like Regina George from Mean Girls.
Yeah, okay.
And this is how I think she's like a lot more complicated. Regina George is just like, okay, I haven't seen the musical. I'm talking about the movie. She's just like mean, you know? She's literally just a mean.
Is there a Mean Girls musical?
There is. It's the movie that came out like last year, but they advertised it not as a musical, but it's a musical.
What?
Yeah, it's also a Broadway musical.
I did not know that.
That's crazy. Be in the pop culture loop.
I guess. God.
But anyways, you know, Regina George, she's just mean. She's like that classic mean high school girl, like puts other people down. And I feel like sometimes she'll pretend to be nice, but other times it's literally just being mean to your face.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the time she's just being mean to your face, and she's vindictive and cruel. Glinda, I feel like from the beginning, you know, she does have that, like, she's the most popular blonde girl at the school, whatever. Blonde, rich, popular. But at the beginning, like, she wants so badly to be perceived as good. Yeah. And that's, like...
She's never really, like... Besides, I guess she, like, bullied Elphaba a little bit, but she's never really, like, vindictive.
Yeah, but I think...
like, her friends convinced
her
to be.
That happened, too, when she met Elphaba. She was like, oh, you know, I could help you. Yeah. Which, that's rude in itself. Like, I can help you be not green. But, you know, she wanted... And then she's like, oh, everyone thinks I'm good or whatever. And then I feel like she got mad because Elphaba didn't like her. And I felt like her being so rude and vindictive to Elphaba was really a case of like, well, this person doesn't like me, so I don't like them. Yeah. Which I've had before where I'm just like, sometimes I'll be like, I feel like this person has a problem with me. And so then in my mind, I'm like, I don't like them, or I feel frustrated with them. But then I learn like, oh, they don't actually have a problem with me. I'm like, oh, then I don't, then it's fine.
And that's like kind of like all she's ever known. Like she's like a little spoiled or whatever. Yeah. But when they like become friends, she's like really just trying her best to like, she's like, oh, I'm going to give you like a makeover. And that's how she knows how to be nice.
Yes, you know? And I think that that's a lot of her meanness is like ignorance, but also like manipulation to get what she wants, but also while still like, you know, because it was nice that she like encouraged Bach to ask Nessa to the dance. Like for Nessa, that was great. That was awesome. But also Glinda had selfish motives. There was selfish motivation because she didn't want to go to this dance with Bach. She wanted to go with Fiyero. And so I feel like she does do a lot of good, but her intention is not necessarily to do good. And I think that makes it really complex where it's like when you're, her actions do that, but her intention is just to like get more praise and adoration, you know? So I don't think that that's like best intentions, obviously. So I don't know. I just think she's a really interesting character. And then when her and Elphaba have that scene at the Ozdust ballroom.
I literally just started thinking about it and I started tearing up.
It's so emotional.
I feel like for me it was so emotional because like, like you said, like she was doing those things, like she gave the hat, like giving her the hat, that's I think what really got to me. Yeah. Because for Glinda, she's like, oh, I'm being mean because this is an ugly hat, so I'm gonna give it to her so everyone can like laugh at her and stuff. Yeah. But Elphaba takes it as such a nice gesture. She's like, oh, she gave me, and she like wears it so proudly. Yes.
Well, I think for me, Cody and I were talking about the hat on the drive here this morning because Glinda's like, oh, have this hat. She does it as a prank, and it's like the iconic witch hat that Glinda's like, oh, it's ugly, and I'm gonna give it to her because as a joke, like I don't like her. She should wear it out tonight. And also, she invited Elphaba out. Elphaba's probably never been invited out by her peers, like ever in her life. She gets invited out and gets a gift, and Glinda had just done this really nice thing for her sister. Yeah. And so she, you know, you see Elphaba kind of change, and she, like, asks Miss Morrible to, like, start teaching Glinda sorcery. And so Elphaba is like, oh, like, this girl is actually nice, but when she gets there and everyone is quiet and you hear the whispers of like, that hat is so ugly, and you can just see Elphaba knows. Yeah. And she sees Glinda and walks to her. And I feel like when she takes the hat and puts it on the floor, it's like that sign of like, I know what you did. Yeah. Like, I know why you did this. But then she does her dance anyway, and I feel like when she picks the hat back up, she's like reclaiming it for herself, and it's no longer like Glinda's prank on her. It's like, this is just this is my thing, this is who I am.
But then when Glinda comes up and starts dancing with her, it was too much. I was like literally sobbing.
It was, it's super emotional because it's so quiet and it's very slow, and I don't know how much like behind the scenes stuff you've seen, but I guess they only rehearsed it a few times. Ariana Grande. She only rehearsed it a couple of times because she wanted to really be learning it like as they were filming. So she had like the basic movements down, but kind of the hand stuff she learned while she was doing it. And I just think
that's so cute.
I think it shows so much about both their characters. Like for Glinda because Fiyero, Glinda tells Fiyero, like, I feel so bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's not your fault.
She's like, well.
And she's like, in her mind, probably like, oh, well, this is my fault.
And then her little friends are like, don't
do
go
that.
Up there.
Like, stop. And she's just like, no. And I think that's such a vulnerable moment to, like, put yourself out there. Like, apologizing sucks. I hate apologizing.
Yeah.
I think it's really not fun. No. Because ultimately that's what it is it's taking accountability, and so it's hard to apologize to realize, like,
it is very vulnerable.
It is vulnerable, like, I did something wrong, and I did something not good, and, especially for her to apologize in such a public way, and to, like, lay herself out, like, Elphaba had put the hat back on, she was, like, gonna go, and it's, like, Glinda goes out in front of everyone, it's not like a private apology where you have one person that could reject it and be like, no, what you did was too bad. Everyone is gonna have an opinion. Yeah. And then for Elphaba to, like, also receive it and forgive her in that moment, it's just very tender. It's very, very tender. And, Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba, she starts crying.
Those were real tears.
They were. Yeah. And I guess that moment where, Ariana, like, wiped the tear from her face, that was improvised. It wasn't. And it's just so...
It's so cute. It makes me understand, too, like, seeing a lot of their interviews and stuff, like, the connection they have with each other now.
Yes.
That's, like, a lot to go through together.
Here's my thing. I'm gonna do a side tangent, because I was talking to someone yesterday who's like, oh, the interviews, they drive me crazy. They're very emotional in their interviews, and here's my thing. I think people forget that most celebrities, and I've said this before to you guys, most celebrities who are in movies or sing, at their base, they're a weird theater kid. Yeah. Like, and that's what Ariana Grande started on Broadway before she was on Nickelodeon. Yeah. Cynthia Erivo, she is very talented, like multi-award winning for stage acting and singing, and I feel like Wicked, for so many people who are into theater, that's like a dream role, a dream musical. Yeah. And to get cast in the movie adaptation, like, that's a big deal, because the movies, people remember those sometimes even more than the Broadway versions. Yeah. Like, Phantom of the Opera, I was obsessed with that movie growing up, because that came out when I was young. Yeah. And I couldn't tell you any of the Broadway singers. I have listened to the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack, like, 5,000 times. I love it so much. Same with Mamma Mia. Oh, and I know that's ABBA, so that's kind of different. But, like, the movie, that shaped so much of, like, who I was growing up, because it came out early. Yeah. And so it is a big deal to be cast in, like, the movie adaptation.
I love seeing the, like, FaceTime recording of, like, when they told her that she got cast. Yes. And she was like, I'll take such good care of her. I'm like...
And I think, too, because these characters are very... Like, it's a very emotional story. And, again, the book was written with a lot of, like... there's, like, a lot of political discourse around it and stuff like that. It is kind of a heavy story.
Yeah. And it's relatable for a lot of people, too. Yes. Like, the characters are very, like,
and presenting our own problems. 3 years filming.
That's a long time.
That's the other thing, too, because someone was saying, like, oh, Ariana's voice is, like, fake. And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of like Austin Butler when he did Elvis, and he still talked like that for a while after. Oh, if you spend 3 years living as a character, it's gonna probably take a while to, like, come out of that. And you can hear that in some interviews now where her voice is, like, dropped lower, but then the next sentence she's, like, up higher. Because I'm like, if I even hear someone talking a British accent for, like, an hour, if I watch a show with a British accent, I'm like, beans on toast. That's all I could think to say.
I'm binge watching Lucifer right now, and it's so hard not to. I'll, like, go upstairs and be like, good morning, Mom. Like, yeah. So
there's my little rant. But anyways, I love how emotional they are in the interviews, and I love how much they love each other and the characters, but I think, too, that's because I loved them so much growing up, and it was such an emotional story for me, so it's nice to see that they care just as much as, like, I did, and I do.
Yeah, before I saw the movie, I didn't like the interviews. I was like, this is so cringy, I hate this, but now that I've seen it, I'm like, oh, my sweet babies!
You're like, okay, I get
it. Yeah, for sure. They're so sweet. I've been seeing a lot on TikTok, too, just because you said this, it reminded me of it, but of, like, old Ariana Grande, because now everyone's like obsessed with her.
Oh yes.
And I'm like, God, she was so different. But like now that you say that, it does make sense. Like that could change your personality for a little bit.
I think too, everyone goes through phases, and I really can't imagine as like a musical artist, because I feel like I watched a video the other day. This was not necessarily about Ariana Grande. They were just talking about musicians in general and how they have to like rebrand with every album. Actually, it was slamming Katy Perry. That was like, they were talking about why Katy Perry hasn't been successful for a long time. But they were kind of saying like, you have to go through like eras, if you will, and like a story or a vision with your album. And Katy Perry has kind of just like been, okay, that's like a side note on this thing. I don't necessarily agree, but whatever. I haven't listened to Katy Perry.
Much about Katy Perry,
But you know, they were saying like you kind of go through these eras, these phases, and I'm like, yeah, that probably would really impact like your own personality, and you're touring, you're singing those songs all the time. Like, anyways,
because she used to be kind of more like, not like rap necessarily, but more in that kind of like hip hop kind of scene. You know?
I went to her Dangerous Woman tour.
Really?
In like 2017.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see her live. Actually, I think a long time ago we were talking about it, because I was like, Ariana Grande, like, because she put out the God is a Woman song, and I was like, it just makes me feel empowered as a woman. You know, like she is like literally like the picture of like femininity, and she just makes me feel so like powerful.
It was a fun concert. I went with my friend Ben. He actually was on the podcast. He started on the podcast, but he bought us tickets while we were in college. I had never listened to Ariana Grande's music other than what was on the radio. But I went with him, and I left that concert and I was like, I love Ariana
She's so
Grande.
Cool.
She's so cool. But I will say, because it was such a fun concert, seeing her in Wicked, I'm like, I feel like she is a musical theater gal. I don't know. It was very fitting. Granted, that concert was like a long time ago, but
that's what every like people that have been like hating on how they're acting now and stuff. Then there will be like someone else commenting and being like, "This is every weird musical theater kid after a show wraps up."
Yes.
Like, it's over emotional of like what they went through during,
like, you know, when you see like the memes about the high school theater kids crying in Denny's at 1 a.m. after their last show. That's Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Like, they're the theater kids. Okay, so cut them some slack. All right, if you don't go to Denny's at 1 a.m. and don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. That's so funny.
But yeah, that scene is so emotional and it's so beautiful. And then I love they like leave the ballroom together. I was telling Cody, because we were listening to Dancing Through Life in the car, and in the Broadway version, like after there's that moment where Elphaba dances, Fiyero does finish out that song. Like he's kind of still the main component, like Dancing Through Life.
Yeah.
And they took that out of the movie, which I was a little bummed, because I love that that's just like Fiyero's song. But I also get it, because I feel like it highlights their departure as like friends together. But
interesting. I really want to see it. It's on my bucket list to see a Broadway musical at some point in my life, but I really do want to see the musical.
Yeah, it's good. I like the. I mean, I saw the stage version when I was 11, but
that's crazy.
I like the movie better.
Whoa.
I think it's really good.
I feel like, honestly, like Broadway musicals, like they are their own thing, you know, like they're special in their own way. But I feel like I'm always gonna like the movie better.
Yeah, I'm usually the movie gal. That's my preferred medium. It's like film or TV.
Yeah. Same.
But okay, so now Elphaba and Glinda are BFFs. Glinda sings her iconic Popular song, which Ariana Grande destroyed.
Fun. So cute.
Killed it.
I like how everyone's freaking out about how she says right, or she's like,
right! I know, I've been saying that a lot. They were popular. Right!
So fun. She said that she didn't even realize that she did that until they like watched it back. She was like, oh.
That's so funny.
She was like, that was, totally on accident.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah. And the dance was so good.
Yeah, so cute.
And so, like, the story progresses from there. And they're kind of, like, vague on timelines and stuff. So they don't say, like, how long they were close. But, you know, Elphaba, she's, like, training in sorcery. That's why she went to Shiz. And this, like, lady's training her. And the lady writes to the wizard, like, let's get her... Let's get it over there.
Yeah.
So then, when Elphaba gets an invitation to the Emerald City to meet the wizard, and that's like at the train station.
Yeah.
Glinda sees her off. And I think this is another point too, where you see that Glinda, like, I do think she has a lot of goodness in her, because that she's so used to being like the center of attention and wants that, but she really didn't. I don't remember if in the stage version no, because the stage version starts, Elphaba says, "Come with me to the Emerald City." So yeah, but Glinda's ready to let her friend go. She's never
you see that she was like a little bummed that it wasn't her, but she's like being supportive. Yes, of her
and she
friend.
wrote her that note, like, I hope your dreams come true, your desires come true, or whatever. And she's there, and she doesn't ask like, "Can I come? I want to come." She just is like ready to let her friend go. And
but then when Elphaba does ask, she's like, "No, yeah, I'm coming."
Okay,
okay, you convinced me. That was so cute.
It was so cute. And then they go, and Taven, this is fun because you probably didn't listen to the CD. I don't know, you probably seen this online, but when they're in the Emerald City and they go to Wizamania and they're like, there's that little stage production talking about the Grimmery.
Yeah.
Those two women are the original Broadway actresses. So.
I did realize that. I mean, I recognized Idina Menzel, but I didn't know who the other girl was. My mom was like, "That's the original Glinda." I was like, okay, that's fun.
I was so excited. I mean, I knew they had a cameo in it, but I thought it would be really short, and I was so excited that they had a whole singing portion.
Yeah.
That was fun, because I watched an interview with the director, John Chu, and he was talking about, like, bringing them in for the cameo. Mm-hmm. He's like, we were discussing a lot of different things to do, and we kind of ended up with this section. We needed to put out a lot of information, like, about the Grimmery and whatever. He said they were going to do kind of like a small world type thing, like the girls get on a boat ride. Oh, and it's like a little,
that'd be so crazy,
animatronic. But then he was like, they had the idea of doing this kind of like stage production and writing more music, because he's like, these women are still working, they're not like retired, and it's not like, because they had thought maybe like one of them could be Glinda's mom, like they could put Kristen Chenoweth in as Glinda's mom or whatever, but they're like, they're still like working professionals, let's put them in here. And I'm like, that's really cool.
I like that. Yeah, they killed it. I like how they're like kind of like fighting each other the whole time, like bumping into each other. It's so cute.
I thought it was so fun. And then Glinda and Elphaba go to meet the wizard.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny too. Having like, because like, if you've seen them, like, you just know the wizard is not magical at this point.
Yes. I mean, if you've seen The Wizard of Oz, you know that.
Yeah. So when it, like, has his, like, big, like, head come out and, like, the fire from the walls and stuff, you're like, what a production he puts on to make people think that he's all-powerful.
It is so crazy. It's, like, the production that goes into it, and to like, cultivate this image.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
he's a smart guy.
He is.
He comes out and he's just, like, this, like, chill guy. He's like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I was telling Taven on my second watch through, as soon as he came out, I was like, oh my gosh, his, like, because Jeff Goldblum, I think in anything he's in, he has a very specific, like, cadence of speech.
Yeah.
And, this time I realized on my second watch through, I was like, that is just like my uncle. Like, I was up recently, like, I don't know, probably why we missed one of our episodes. I was in Alaska taking care of my uncle getting a knee replacement, and that's the one I was like, that they have like that same cadence of speech, and it's so funny. But yeah, the wizard comes out, and so Taven you mentioned like in Oz they're trying to get the animals not to talk, and that's what Elphaba, she wants to go see the wizard to tell him, hey, something's going on with the animals.
Can you help them?
But then you find out he's behind it all.
I liked his line where he's like, where I come from, you learn to unite a people. You gotta give them a real good enemy.
Yes.
And then it was started with the animals, but then they made it Elphaba now instead. They turned her into the enemy.
And it's so crazy. I mean, I've seen a lot of things comparing it to, like, this last election cycle.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Because it's like, I feel like that was so much of it is just like villainizing people, and it's not even like what you can do, because the wizard has no power, so he's not even doing actual things, but it's just like putting other people down and out about it.
Yeah, because he's like, everyone, like, he announces it and everyone believes it must be true. Yes. He's like, there's a green witch flying around and she sucks, and everyone's like, oh my god, she sucks, even though they've never like seen it for themselves or anything. And so Elphaba has this point. I will say too, the first time I watched it, you know, Elphaba casts a spell from the Grimmery, which is the book of all their spells that the wizard supposedly is the only one who can use. And she casts a spell which gives all the monkey guards wings, and that's how she gets, like, the lore of the flying monkeys. And she feels so bad. She feels, like, in pain. Yes. She's like, I want to reverse it. And they're like, you can't reverse it. And then, you know, she finds out because the wizard lets it slip, like, oh, perfect, our spies in the sky. And she's like, spies? And he's like, no, let's call them scouts. And she kind of gets this realization, like, why couldn't you do this? And she goes, like, can you even read it? Yeah, she grabs the Grimmery and gives it to him, and she's like, cast a spell. And he's like, I can't. And she's like, she says, you have no power.
And the first time I watched it, I feel like I'm gonna cry. It's so stupid, but. And I've seen a few things like this. Again, we're in Utah. There's a lot of Mormonism here. Thank you for holding space and holding my place. But it felt exactly how I felt when I was, like, leaving the church. Where I realized, like, this just isn't real. Like, to me, if it's really you, that's great. But I was like, there's so much I was taught my whole life and I believed, and I was, like, reaching for it and chasing after it and wanting it so bad. Yeah. And then there was a point where I was just like, this is not real. And not only for me was it not real, it was, like, harmful to me and the people around me. Yeah. And so I was, like, the first time I was, like, I was trying so hard not to cry because I was with my mom and my sister, and I'm like, they're gonna make fun of me if I cry. But, and it's so funny because, yeah, I've listened to the music my whole life, and I've always loved the musical, but that's the first time it's ever really hit me, like, in that way with that interpretation. But I've seen a few podcasts and stuff that have talked about that since, and I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, I never would have thought of it that way.
Yeah. So that's interesting too. If you think about it, politics or religion, there's a lot of insight that Wicked has to offer.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, she finds out the wizard has no power, and she, like, takes the grimoire and runs. And the wizard's like, well, Madame Morrible's like, Glinda, go get her. Like, if you want
to do some good, now's the time to prove yourself.
And then that's when they get into the part, they're gonna start singing Defying Gravity, and that is such an emotional song. And
it really is.
I feel like it's so hard because, for me, I'm not gonna cry. No, it gets, I think Defying Gravity, it's kind of the point where you realize, like, especially the middle, they start singing together because Elphaba's like, come with me, and Glinda's like, seems really excited and starts singing with her, like, we could do such amazing things, we could help so many people. Yeah. And then you see that Glinda's just like, I'm not gonna come. Yeah. But they're like, you know, I hope you're happy. And
because that starts off like as an argument where they're like, I hope you're happy, and then at that point it's like, I actually really do hope you're happy with your decisions, you know?
And it's like that genuine love for each other, but I feel like I've experienced that as an adult with a friend recently in the last few years, where it's just like, you realize, like, you are not the same people and you're not on the same path, and it's so challenging. And I feel like friendships or, like, romantic relationships, I think you can often get to a point where you just realize, like, I love this person so much and I want so badly to, like, be with this person or be in this person's life, but it's just like
the futures are just not going down the same.
They are not the same. Yeah. And that's so hard. I feel like that's such a hard thing to go through.
I think, yeah, it was, like, really, like, the moment where I started, like, really crying that, like, got me was, like, when she's like, come with me, and you realize, like, she's not gonna go, but then she's, like, crying and she finds the cloak and she's like, you're shivering. She's like, take this with you, you're gonna be so cold. It just shows that they really still, like, do care about each other, but they just have different, like, ambitions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when she's, like, on her freaking broom, and then she's, like, sees her little kid self in the mirror, and then she, like, gets her, like, strength, and she's like, yes, no one's gonna bring me down,
it's me. No, I love that. My favorite line always has been when she comes back and she's in the movie and musical, she's like, and nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was. It's like, but it's crazy too how quickly she becomes villainized. Yeah. You know? And I kind of see too, because Glinda's like, just come back, like, just talk to them, you know, and
just apologize.
And I don't.
She's like, I know that would work, but she's like, I can't want that anymore.
And the apology thing, I don't get. That's the thing. I feel like both of them kind of became too extreme, and I feel more sympathetic to Elphaba's. I'm like, I probably would have been more on that end, but yeah, I feel like Elphaba, she has this huge bargaining chip of magic for her to just go back and not even apologize, but be like, I'll come here and I can help you, but I'm not helping you with that. And you're not doing that, and like, let's make Oz better together. Yeah. Like, she had an opportunity to, like, speak with the wizard to say, like, I'm not gonna try and, like, strip you of this or take it away, but it needs to change, or I will be your enemy. You know what I'm saying? And Glinda, I get where she's coming from, like, just, well, I don't get the apology. I don't think Elphaba needed to apologize. But anyways, my point is, I think it highlights both of them were being a little extreme, but they like both made their choices I don't know. It's just.
I think as far as like, because everyone's like, oh, like Elphaba's like standing up for like a good cause, and she's like going and doing this good thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's hard too, but like for Glinda, like leaving is hard. Like everything that you've ever known, like all your dreams, everything you've ever pursued and like wanted, like to go and like do that and like go with Elphaba would have been like a huge risk, and that's like scary. So it's like it's understandable why she chose to stay, you know. And then from what I've heard, I haven't seen the musical or part 2, obviously, but then Madame Morrible, so it's like kind of manipulating her a little bit and stuff. But
yeah, I think ultimately Glinda just chose her own like ambition over everything else and like her vision for herself. You know what, Taven? I've actually seen someone, a little TikTok, they were talking about that moment where Glinda chooses as kind of a, they're talking about like allyship for like, you know, the LGBTQ community, or even like with racism, like fights against racism or whatever, because it's like people who don't actually go through that, it's like you know, there's a point where it's like, I get where you're coming from, but this system benefits me, so I can't leave it. Like, you can't leave that privilege behind.
That's fair, because no one hated her, like no one had any problems with like, Glinda.
And so I think in that moment, like Elphaba has always kind of been like the downtrodden or whatever, or the made fun of, and so it's easy for her to leave because she's like, this is what I've known.
Yeah.
And Glinda's like, I think there's that self-preservation, but then also borders into selfishness, because she sees like the bad impact that it's having and how much it's negatively impacting, but she's like, for myself, I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't leave.
That's fair.
But it's tough. I feel like they really just are. It's such a complex story.
Yeah.
Such deep characters. I really like it. It gives you so much to think about.
It does. And as far as like what I've heard of like part 2 and stuff, I'm really excited because I like spoilers, but again, 20 years old. So I love like hearing like that like Fiero's like the scarecrow, and because it just like it's so fun, like it almost feels like a little Easter egg if you like have seen The Wizard of Oz. So it's like
Bach is the Tin Man,
and everyone says the lion is the one that they like rescue from the classroom. Okay.
Because they like protect and take care of the lion.
Aww.
And so then he never learned to fight his own fights, so he becomes a cowardly lion.
Okay.
And then Bach, I can't fully remember, but so Nessa in the second movie, she becomes like mayor of Munchkinland, or the governor, because her dad dies like at the end, you know, of a heart attack. I don't think she's a kind ruler. Yeah. And
she gets powers or something too, though, right? Because she becomes the Wicked Witch of
that's
the
what
East.
I'm like pretty sure she gets powers. I don't know if she just has them or if Elphaba enchants her to have powers. I can't remember quite like how she gets them. I think it has something to do with the slippers, you know, her like silver slippers.
Why do they turn red?
So actually in the book and of the Wizard of Oz and Wicked, they're silver slippers. But when Wizard of Oz was filmed, it was like one of the first Technicolor movies, so they just wanted red slippers.
Okay, interesting.
And it stood out better against like the yellow brick road.
Yeah,
so they did ruby slippers.
Interesting. Yeah. Fun little note.
Which they had a fun little, when Glinda was singing Popular, she had the red slippers and she taps their heels together 3 times when she's like pulling out all her shoes and stuff, so it's cute. And actually they have a lot of dance moves, like things Bach does or Fiero does. They're actually callbacks like from what the Scarecrow and the Tin Man do in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, cute.
So it's really fun. Like, you guys should look up they have like YouTube compilations of all the little Easter eggs. And it's super fun to watch.
Well, like when you said like in the Dancing Through Life song, like it's like better to have like no brains or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, interesting.
There you go. But yeah, so I think Nessa turns Bach into the Tin Man because as soon as she's able in the Broadway version, Nessa makes it so she's able to walk again. Or I think Elphaba casts a spell so that Nessa doesn't have to use a wheelchair anymore. And then once she's able to walk, Bach's like, well, I'm out. You can walk.
You don't need me anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to go find Glinda. And Nessa's like,
what
are you kidding? Like, that's why you've been with me?
Oh, so no heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've heard they're going to change it maybe in the second part of the movie because it's like ableist if she wishes to walk. So she might just wish to not need help anymore. But I'm like, hey, you know, if someone wishes to walk, they can wish to walk.
That's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in a wheelchair, so I can't say for sure. But anyways. And then Yeah, then Fiyero and Elphaba, they like get together in the second part of the movie.
So dirty.
And because Fiyero gets engaged to Glinda, but it's like a fake engagement to just like boost morale.
Yeah.
And he leaves for Elphaba, so then people are hunting Fiyero down, and then Elphaba tries a spell to like make Fiyero
like invincible,
right? And the words are, let his bones never break, let him never bleed, let him never die, and so he gets turned into a scarecrow.
Oof.
And it's so crazy. I just think it's so fun how they did all that.
Well, okay, so does he come back from being the scarecrow? Because what I've seen from like spoilers of like the last scene is that Elphaba like fakes her death.
Yes.
And then goes to like meet him like at a tower or something. Yeah. So is he back to normal?
No, he's still the scarecrow.
He's still a scarecrow?
He's still a scarecrow.
Shit.
Yeah, scarecrow and a witch.
Interesting.
But no, her song in that act is called No Good Deed. Well, she has a lot of songs, but the one No Good Deed, it's really good because she's trying to do all these good things, and even like with the monkeys, but they're turning out like bad or getting vilified. And the words are like, no good deed goes unpunished. And so she's like, have I just been doing this all for attention? I've been trying to do good, but maybe I'm just trying to get attention. And so she's like, if that's what good deeds are, no good deed will I do again. It's like really sad. It's just, she's tried so hard, and it's for years. I think this is over like a 7-year period after school, and it's just like nothing works out. It's really sad. And then her and Glinda sing the saddest duet together ever. That's gonna be
They reunite?
They reunite. This is before Elphaba dies.
Oh.
And so Glinda doesn't know that Elphaba faked her death.
Yeah.
She thinks that she really died. But so this is right before Elphaba dies, and they do meet again. And they sing this song called For Good, and it's just about how they've like changed each other's lives.
Aww.
And Glinda even says, she's like, and we may never see each other again, something like that. Like and they don't, but she's like, just know that you've changed me for good, and it's so beautiful. Aww. It's like the best song I think in the musical, and I think it's gonna be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, I feel like from what I've heard, part 2 is gonna be a lot more like
dark and sad.
Complex. Yeah,
it definitely does. I mean, the first half is it's kind of about like the actions that they're choosing, and then the second half is the consequences, and who wants the consequences, you know what I'm saying?
No.
So
I'm excited. I'm glad that it's only gonna be a year from now, like not another 3 years or something.
Yeah,
I feel like I can wait that long.
I know. I'm glad it was all filmed at once and it's gonna come out quick.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be amazing. The first part was I was blown away. I really was blown away. It was so good.
Oh, should we talk about your little litmus test thing? Because I want to...
Oh my gosh.
Not only did my mom I went and saw it with my mother, and she did not cry one single time. She kept looking at me, and I was crying a lot. And she kept looking over at me. She's like, are you crying? I'm like, looking at her, I'm like, yeah, are you not? Like, she's like, meh. And then we, like, walked out of the theater, and I was like, oh, that was so good. She's like, nah. I was like... I also just, like, that's totally, like, who my mom is. Like, that's her personality type, so I was so surprised that she, like, didn't love it. Like, I thought she would have been obsessed with it, but she was like, eh.
Yeah. I watched this TikTok, and it was like, oh, Wicked is a great, like, litmus test for your friends. It was kind of comparing it to, like, Barbie last year when it came out, like, and so it just had different things, but it was like, if you didn't cry during the ballroom scene, you've never had anything traumatic happen in your life. It did say if you didn't like the movie, what did it say? Like, then...
Oh, I don't remember.
But it said, yeah, if you don't cry in the ballroom scene, you've never had anything traumatic happen, you were really popular in school, and you never worried about friends. And then it was like, if you keep dragging Glinda, then you have trouble feeling empathy and giving people grace.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you liked Bach, then you stay in relationships too long and need to go to therapy before you start dating again.
Ooh. Thank God I didn't like Bach, because that would have really called me
when
out.
I saw that video, I literally thought of you.
I
was
thought
like,
of me
I
too.
can't wait to hear what Taven thinks about Bach.
No, I did not like Bach, so I feel like that's maybe a good sign that I've healed from that past trauma.
A year ago, Taven, who knows what she would have felt about
Bach. Been like, oh, that was so nice of him. He's so handsome.
No, it is interesting. I feel like when I took Cody, because we went and saw it when I saw it for the second time, and I was kind of... Well, okay, I wasn't that nervous. I knew Cody would like it. He loves a love story, and he's kind of a sucker for things like that, actually. But I also, part of me was like, what if he doesn't like it? Because I'm like, it kind of felt like a big deal that it would be emotional at some point to him.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if we leave, and he's like, it was fine. I'm gonna be. I don't know how I'm
yeah.
gonna feel. I'm gonna
Give
be like,
you something
what?
to think
Are you
about,
joking?
I guess.
But no, he cried 3 single manly
manly
tears at 3 different points.
That's so funny.
And so that made me feel good. But then he's like been listening to the music and he's like, it was just so good. So
that's good. Especially when it was like such a big deal to you, like growing up and stuff too.
Yes.
That's what Jordan, I don't think, has seen it yet, and I told him to wait until he comes down to watch it with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want you to see me cry. I'm like, I want to see you cry.
I want to see you cry, buddy. But I feel like they did such a good job too with all of the characters, like showing their depth. And I think that's the hard thing with the stage version is it's a lot more condensed. And so I think it's easier to like judge the characters or maybe not understand why they did what they did. And they all the actors did such a good job with like their facial expressions. I feel like you can read them really well. And that's like, I guess the only character I didn't really feel sympathy for was Nessa.
Yeah.
But everyone else, I felt like, I was like, I understand why you're doing that. And I get it. Maybe I don't agree, but I understand. And so I feel like if I watched it with someone and they're like, man, I didn't like it and it didn't make me feel this, I'm like, that's crazy because I just feel like they made it so easy to relate to those characters and to access their emotions.
You know what, actually, speaking of Ben that was on the podcast, Glinda's friend reminded me of Ben so much the whole time.
Oh my gosh. Ben, if you're listening, Jaron said that to me yesterday.
Really?
He was like, when I saw that friend Glinda had reminded me, Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
He was like, that reminded me of your friend that I just met, Ben.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so
The whole
funny.
time I was like, Ben, what are you doing up there?
Ben, you crazy guy.
I actually just, one of our friends, I just found on TikTok for the first time, and he's been posting all about Wicked. It's Jaron.
Oh.
I didn't know that he had a TikTok,
Yeah,
but I just found him and he's been posting all about it. I'm like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
I just love singing it. It's so good.
It's so good. My whole feed is Wicked, and I'm like, I feel, but I love it.
I feel pulled in. I feel entranced.
It really was just like so encompassing of a film, and it's so colorful. The music's beautiful. It's just like visually
all that they put into the set too is crazy.
Because like the train in it, they built that train. They
planted all those tulips.
The waterways, they like built a little lake, so it's a lot of practical effects, which is really cool. Crazy. I really like that. Peter Dinklage is the goat in it. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you know.
Who is that?
He's in Elf. The little elf.
Oh, okay.
And like, isn't he in Game of Thrones too? I haven't seen Game of Thrones,
yeah.
But I feel like he's in it.
Yeah.
I know he's in so much, so I'm sorry that Elf is the thing I said first. But I was like, I'm gonna say Game of Thrones, and he's not gonna be in that.
No, he is.
Yeah, he's the goat professor.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love when he's trying to say Galinda.
Yeah.
He's like,
Galinda.
She's like, Galinda.
With a da.
How hard is it? Oh, she did so good. It's so fun.
She did. They were amazing. And I was like floored by Cynthia Erivo because I don't know
much about her.
I didn't know much about her either. Like, I knew that she had won a lot of awards and stuff, so I knew she would be good. I knew she wasn't gonna be bad, but I loved Idina Menzel growing up in Wicked. Like
it really floored me hearing her sing Defying Gravity for the first time.
Yes, we like bought her album, like Idina Menzel's first debut album after Wicked, and I just really, really liked her, and I felt like I related so much to Alphabet at that time. And so I don't know, I was just like, I'm sure Cynthia will be good, but
not as good.
But it can't be as good. And the first song she sang, The Wizard and I, within the first 2 sentences of that song, I was like,
oh my god,
oh my gosh, like this is so amazing.
Yeah, she killed it.
Yeah. Anyways, go see Wicked. It will change your life.
If you don't feel like you've already seen it based on this episode.
It's 3 hours, guys. You definitely got content there that we missed.
And it's worth every second. Normally I hate being in a theater for that long. I'm like, 3 hours is too long. But
let me put you guys onto a little movie snack too, and we'll end with that, okay?
Oh yeah, okay, I want to say something after that.
Okay. Get yourself a popcorn and get an extra side of nacho cheese. You dip your popcorn in the nacho cheese. So good.
Interesting.
Both times I saw Wicked was at like 10 a.m. And I'm like, can I have a popcorn and nacho cheese? And they were like, just the cheese? And I'm like, yes.
I also went super early and I got a whole like large popcorn and my mom didn't eat any. I ate the whole thing by myself. Yeah. But pro tip, me and my mom and I, went on a Tuesday, which I totally just forgot.
$5 Tuesday.
But since it's $5 Tuesday for a normal seat, if you do the what's it called? Luxury seating, but there's those like box seats that you can get. Yeah. So it's like, I loved it, and it was only $12 for like each of us to sit there. And I feel like it was such a hack because it's like so private. So like there's literally like walls surrounding you, so like no one's to either side of you.
No one's gonna see you cry.
Yeah, literally. And like me and my mom were just like pulling out, because my mom is like all natural and stuff, so she brought her own snacks in a little backpack and just pulling them out, like, because normally we have to like kind of secretly pull them out.
That's crazy. I always bring my own food and I just
willy-nilly.
One time this was actually mean. I shouldn't have done this, but I was a kid. Okay, what did I know? I brought freaking summer sausage into the theater.
Oh god,
that probably smelled so.
No.
I had like a little meat and cheese bag.
Ugh, gross. But yeah, it was just fun having like that privacy, and it also just felt like kind of like I was just like at home like watching the movie, because I just didn't see anyone else around me, but it was like on the big screen still.
When I went with Cody, I sat next to this lady. Okay, I'm gonna preface too, our theater was not full. It was not a full theater.
Okay.
Cody and I, when I bought the tickets, we were the only ones that had purchased tickets so far.
Okay.
And then this lady, I go in, she's sitting right next to me, and just like a single person there by themselves.
Why would she choose that?
I don't know, and I was not happy because I was like, I didn't get to cry the first time. I was trying to hold it in because I didn't want my family to make fun of me, so I was ready to sob.
And now this lady's here judging
This lady is right here, but she was crying the whole time too, so I was like, okay, we're in it together. We're in this.
Maybe that's what she wanted. She wanted some emotional support.
Yeah, she's like, I could not be sitting alone watching this. That's crazy.
That's what, when I went and saw the last Marvel movie, the Endgame one or whatever, I went alone for I think we talked about this.
Yes, because I went alone too.
Yeah.
You tell your story and I'll tell mine.
Yeah, I like just really wanted to see it. Everyone was talking about it, but I didn't have anyone to see it with, and so I went alone, and I was just like in like this little like hidden corner of the theater, and I was just freaking like ugly crying, like sobbing like a baby.
Yeah, I went alone to Endgame too, and because it was the same thing. Everyone had already seen it, or like schedules didn't match up, whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to go see it, and I'm like leaving the theater. This is the only movie I've ever seen by myself. I'm leaving the theater, and this guy that I knew from like high school is there, and he's like, Addie? And I'm like, oh hey, and he's like, oh, did you come alone? And I was like, first of all, too, he would be weird and leave people weird notes in high school, so I was like, you know what, buddy? Yeah, I am here alone.
Judge me.
Don't come at me, because I'll bring up everything you did in junior high and high school.
Oh my gosh.
But he actually said it rude. I was like, if he just said, oh, did you come with anyone? I would have been like, oh, no, just myself. But he was like, oh, you came alone?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? It took me a lot of courage to come by myself. So I'm really brave. I'm like a lot braver than you.
Yeah. Honestly, going to a movie theater alone is scary. Especially like a big theater, you're just like, okay. Hey.
So, anyways, see Wicked, cry your heart out, let us know what you thought of it, and we will see you next week.
Bye.